A man often spends the early years of his life chasing the idea of legacy as if it were a destination, a title carved in stone, a fortune left behind, a name echoing in important rooms. We equate legacy with impact, but what we miss, until it's almost too late, is that impact rarely comes in grand gestures. It lives in the quiet, almost invisible moments. Ancient Chinese wisdom teaches us that the superior man is modest in speech but exceeds in action. It is not how loudly you speak of your values, but how consistently you live them that defines what remains after you're gone. Legacy is not what you build for yourself, it is what you build in others. The words you say when no one is watching, the hand you offer when there's nothing to gain, the integrity you hold when shortcuts are easier. These are not the actions that earn applause, but they are the ones that earn remembrance. What endures is not the monument, but the feeling you leave behind in every person you've touched, your kindness, your presence, your example. So many men wake up in middle age or later and realize they have built resumes, not relationships. They've accumulated wealth, but not wisdom. They've taught ambition, but not grace. And when the noise fades, when their names are no longer printed on plaques or mentioned in meetings, what remains is the question: did I make others feel more human, more seen, more valued? Real legacy is created in daily rituals. It is in showing up for your child's uncertainty, not just their achievements. It is in the friend you call back, even when you're exhausted. It is in holding the door open and saying, I'm proud of you, in giving someone your full attention when they speak. These small acts, repeated with sincerity, leave deeper marks than the grandest titles ever could. The tragedy is that we often chase the permanent while ignoring the powerful. We want to leave behind something that lasts forever, yet forget that the warmth of our presence, the weight of our character, and the depth of our compassion are what shape the lives around us in real time. And those moments, though fleeting, become eternal in memory. You do not need to wait until old age to live this way. You do not need to wait until you've arrived to be remembered. Begin now with the next person you see. Leave a mark not with status, but with sincerity. Speak less about who you are. Show it, not someday, but today. Because in the end, when everything else fades, what remains is not what you had, but how you made others feel while you were here. That is your real legacy. And that, beautifully, is already within your power to create. Pain is one of life's earliest teachers, but also one of the most misunderstood. We're conditioned to avoid it, to see it as a threat, a sign of failure, a punishment for not doing life right. But ancient Chinese philosophers, in their stillness and insight, saw pain not as an enemy, but as a messenger. In its sharp edge is often the wisdom we refuse to learn in easier times. Laozi and Confucius did not celebrate suffering, but they knew that within it lies the invitation to grow, to understand and to soften in ways that ease never could. For much of a man's life, he is taught to conquer, to fix, to solve. And so, when pain comes, grief, betrayal, disappointment, his instinct is to silence it. He buries it in work, drowns it in distraction, numbs it with pride. Yet pain doesn't disappear. It waits. It lives in the tightness of the chest when he's alone, in the restless sleep, in the silent moments when the world's noise fades and only truth remains. The sages remind us that pain is not cruelty. It is clarity in disguise. It strips away illusion. It reveals what truly matters. A heartbreak might remind you of how deeply you can love. A failure might uncover the lie you've been living for someone else. The loss of someone dear might break you open, not to destroy, but to reawaken the parts of you that forgot how to feel. We don't grow because life is easy. We grow because pain makes us stop, question, reflect. It humbles us. It reminds us that we are not invincible, and that's not weakness, it's humanity. And from that place of softness, something beautiful can rise. Compassion, patience, depth. The kind of quiet wisdom that doesn't preach but simply understands. But this transformation only happens when we stop running, when we turn toward our wounds, not away from them. When we sit with the ache, ask what it wants to teach us, and allow ourselves to feel fully without shame. This is not indulgence, it is healing. It is reclaiming the parts of ourselves that pain tried to reach. In the end, the pain you carry can either harden or awaken you. You choose. Let it break you open, not into pieces, but into presence. Let it become the soil where resilience grows, where empathy flourishes, where your truest self takes root. because one day someone will come to you, lost, hurting, afraid, and you will not need to offer advice. You will simply sit with them having walked through your own fire, and they will feel understood. That moment will matter more than all the victories you chased. That, too, is the gift of pain. Not just what it teaches you, but how it allows you to love others more deeply. Real love, the kind that carves itself into the memory of a life, does not come dressed in comfort or ease. It demands more than affection, it requires courage. This is the kind of love ancient Chinese philosophers understood not as romance, but as devotion, integrity, and surrender. Laozi once wrote, "Being deeply loved gives you strength. Loving deeply gives you courage." It's in that second line, loving deeply, that many men falter, not because they don't want to love, but because they have learned to guard their hearts more than offer them. From an early age, men are taught to lead, to protect, to solve. Emotions become obstacles to overcome, not languages to speak. Vulnerability is often mistaken for weakness, tenderness for fragility. And so many men grow into adulthood skilled in survival, yet illiterate in intimacy. They love from a distance, with conditions, with masks. They fear being seen completely because they fear rejection. But love, the kind that transforms, asks for nothing less than the whole self. It asks you to risk not being enough and to show up anyway. To love with courage is not simply to say, "I love you" when it's easy. It is to stay when things get hard. It is to forgive when pride wants to fight. It is to listen when the ego wants to speak. Courageous love does not seek to control or change the other. It chooses to witness them fully, even in their messiness. It trusts that love is not about fixing, but about accepting. It knows that being present is often more healing than being perfect. Real love will test you. It will bring your shadows to the surface. It will confront the walls you've built to keep yourself safe. But in that discomfort is the sacred space where healing begins, not just for the relationship, but for yourself. Because in loving another deeply, you meet yourself in ways you never have. You see your fear, your tenderness, your unmet needs. And if you have the courage to stay with it all, to not run or numb, love becomes the mirror in which you grow. There will be days when love feels like labor, when misunderstandings feel louder than connection, when the silence between you feels colder than words. But love is not the absence of conflict. It is the choice to return again and again, to repair, to reach, to remember why you chose them in the first place. And in that returning, love deepens. It matures. It becomes less about how they make you feel and more about how you choose to show up. In the end, real love doesn't promise a life without pain, but it offers a bond strong enough to carry you through it. The courage to love, openly, vulnerably, fiercely, is not something men discover by accident. It's something they must choose. And often that choice comes not when love is easy, but when it's hardest. That is when it matters most. Legacy is not built in grand moments. It's whispered into the lives we touch when no one is watching. It's found in the strength to feel pain instead of fleeing from it. In the courage to love openly when the world told you to guard your heart. This is not weakness. This is the quiet rebellion of a man who refuses to live on the surface. The ancient wisdom was never meant to impress. It was meant to invite you home, back to your heart, back to your presence, back to the life that's still waiting to be lived with truth, tenderness, and awe. It's not too late. It never was. The seed planted today becomes the shelter for someone tomorrow. So plant it, one word, one action, one heartbeat at a time.